And he asked me to his girlfriend on a Tuesday. And by Saturday, I was convinced that this was not right.
What? What?
So, have I ever told you guys about the time that I almost broke up with James back when we were dating?
I'm guessing not.
This is little known knowledge about James and Tiffany. There was almost a never to us.
I didn't actually find out about it till a lot later.
We were
like
probably
months and months later. Because Tiffany never told me about it. She almost we didn't even have an argument beforehand.
No.
It was almost just...
It just kind of, I almost shut down. So I want to share this today because this channel is all about life advice you don't hear in church. And I feel like what I always heard growing up in Christian circles and books and all that was this idea that like, once you find the person you want to be with, you just kind of know. Like there's this innate gut feeling sense of this is the one, like, ah. And
it's not always at church. It's not exclusively a church thing.
True.
It's cultural too.
Hollywood.
I mean, think about all the movies you've seen or even you hear stories, even because it is sometimes true for some people that say, oh my goodness, the first time I saw this person, I just knew. And so everyone has heard enough of those stories to think,
so romantic. That will happen to me.
But the reality is that probably a lot of people don't know immediately. Or the time when they have this aha moment is after they've known the person for a while. Maybe even after they've been dating for a while.
And some people, I don't think they even have that aha moment. It's sort of like more like a slow growth into it. Like you describe it as wading into the water.
Yes.
You put one foot in front of the next. You take one step another and you're like, yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, and I don't think you don't necessarily know which one you are.
Yeah, you don't know what your story will be like. I remember being single. I would meet different guys and every time I'd be like, meh. I just thought I could like tell.
But to tell them the flip side, there were a couple of guys that you saw initially and were like,
oh yeah, that's the one for me. Mostly because they were 6'3" tall, dark, and handsome, and in ministry. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It just was this idea in my head, like, that's who I'm gonna be with. I remember my pastor and his wife, my mentors, telling me like, Tiffany, slow down in relationships. Like, don't try to figure it out right away if you're gonna marry the guy or be together long term. Just figure out like, is he a good guy? Is he trustworthy? And kind of take your time getting to know him. Is that enough of the backstory?
Oh, I think so. Okay. I think that's good.
So, fast forward to James and Tiffany meet. I think we went on 3 or 4 dates before you asked me to be your girlfriend. And he asked me to his girlfriend on a Tuesday. And by Saturday, I was convinced that this was not right. More like I was questioning everything. And I vividly remember like driving in my car, just like, I just don't know. I don't have that feeling. Like I should probably just break up with him. Maybe there's this other guy, because there was like another guy. It's sort of that I've never told you this.
What? What? I've never heard this before. This is a little shocking.
There was this other guy who I've been like thinking like, oh, maybe we're supposed to be together before James and I got together. And I was like, well, maybe it's not supposed to be James. Maybe it's supposed to be this other guy. And there was like all these thoughts going through my head. I'm like, I just don't know with James. Like I thought I'd have this feeling by now and I don't.
After 4 dates?
Yeah, and I almost broke it off. And I vividly remember driving in my car. This song came on about like, look forward, don't look behind. And I just really felt like God was like saying that to me, like I'm writing new things up ahead, like let go of the last chapter of your life. Cause like the last chapter of my life kind of had this hold over me, like with this guy and just like second guessing everything. Like, is this right for me? Is this not? And so I was like, let go of the past, not saying James is right for you, but just like walk forward and don't look back. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna give this some time. Are you doing okay with that revelation?
That's just funny. It's just funny. But you tell me everything, so I'm like surprised you've never mentioned that before.
I almost told you.
It
I'm
totally
prepping
makes sense,
for this
though.
video, and then I was like, I want to see his reaction.
Wow, we've like diverted into like reality TV.
But you know, you have those people in your life that you like are always wondering about, and that's so normal too.
That is true.
But then like you realize like I want to be with this person and that wondering starts to like go away. I really think a lot of times like you find the right person.
Over time.
Over time. Yeah. And so like we kept on going, and I still didn't know if we were gonna end up together, but I knew I wanted to try it. And I'm just so glad I waited it out, because again, I grew up with this whole idea of like, you date someone for the purpose of marrying them or seeing if you could marry them, and you're like thinking marriage from the beginning, and there's this whole pressure to like figure it out, not go too long before you know, because you don't want to like have a failure of the relationship. And I'm so glad I let go of that mindset and stayed with James and gave it some more time.
Yeah.
Because like legitimately, I'm so happy I'm with him. Just so you know, there's no more questioning in my mind. And I would highly recommend, whether you're single or in a relationship, that you check out our series called Before the Ring, which used to be called Is He Right For You? And it's basically walks you through 25 things to look for that like makes it really practical to know like, is this a good guy for me? Is this the kind of person I want to be with? Like it takes your gut feelings into account, but it helps you not just rely on those.
And I think something like that gives you a good barometer for how well you know someone. Because you might be thinking, wow, I feel like I really know this person. But if you go through and you can only answer a few of those questions or even half of those questions, you don't really know the person the way that you should.
Yeah. So that's the story of how we almost broke up, but did not. And I'm so glad we did it. See you girls next week. Bye.